People drive later, one last hour later, 12,000 minutes later, a lot of Etch Kitty later, 83 days later, 39 minutes after. The next pilots, many cryings later, many inches later, 10 minutes later, 1 week later, 8 seconds later, 80 hours later, 13 months later, 612 hours later, 852 seconds later, 380 minutes later, 12 months later, so many credit siren alarms later, a lot of wheels later, several minutes later, more minutes later, minute ago, 90 months later, 19 minutes later, 6 hours later, 5 hours later, 5 weeks later,
4, 3,
the next that's morning later, 1 hour later, month 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, 5 month, 6 month, 7 month, 8 month, 9 month, 10 month, 11 month, 12 month, 13 month, 14 month, 15 month, 16 month, 17 month, 18 month, 19 month, 20 month, 30 month, 40 month, 50. See next quips, later that night, 46 hours later, a month 60 month 70, the 8, 9 to 14 decades later, a few hours later, the next after, 16 hours later, 9 to 3 seconds later, 4 hours later, see next day, 91 more seconds later, several seconds later, a few inches later, 1,234,567,890 hours later, soon after. Weeks later, the next minute, 123 seconds later, 3 seconds later, 6:52, 20 nexts later, a few minutes later, 10 inches later, a few moments later, 2 hours later, many attempts to fix the gifts later, 78 minutes later, holidays later, 30 hours later, 1 second later, 6 seconds later, hours later, the next way, many hours later, 60 seconds later, a few inches later, 67 hours later, too many 200 later, 5 hours later, days later, 2 days later, 24 hours later,